In today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 tips on how to regain control when you feel a blush coming on, so stick around.
Gotta stand up straight. Gonna rise like a champion.
Have you ever been in a social situation and you're feeling good? You're like up, your energy's good, you're feeling confident, and then all of a sudden, oh no. You feel this heat rising up your face and you just know you're about to be in a full-on blush. The walls are closing in, you want to run, you want to hide, fight, flight, retreat, go, get out of there so that you can preserve yourself and be safe. I know how this feels because I've been there multiple times. But let's talk about what really changed. The only thing that changed besides your skin is what you were believing about that moment and about who you are in that moment. I want to encourage you today by letting you know that if you can shift out of that confident state of mind, you can certainly shift back into it. I think for a lot of people, they feel like once that blush starts to happen, your whole reality crumbles and there's nothing you can do about it, but you can absolutely regain control of that situation. It's what shifts in that mental space when you start to turn red, how you see yourself, what you think about the situation, what you think about others are thinking about you, and you can certainly regain control of that. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is how you can regain confidence once you start to have a blush. But before we get started, hey, my name is April. I'm the founder of Blushing Phoenix. I struggled with erythrophobia, the fear of blushing, chest and neck flushing and facial flushing for 6 years, and I was able to overcome it, number one, by exposures and creating this channel and talking openly about my fears around it, and then learning how to reframe something that had so much control and realizing that I was the one that was empowering that thing, whether that was going to be positive or negative. So I just kind of shifted my mindset, and again, took me 6 years, but here we are. I've worked in numerous corporate executive roles with erythrophobia. I've authored 2 books. I've been on live TV. And I tell you all of this to say that I can speak directly from experience and overcoming. And I believe that if I can overcome erythrophobia, anybody can. And that was part of my mission in creating Blushing Phoenix, is that I wanted to prove to myself that if this got wired in, I know it can get wired out. And then letting people watch that journey so that they could see it in real time, as much as real time as you can, because it's pre-recorded and all those things, but to show you that you're not alone, that there is support for you, and that you too can overcome erythrophobia. So here at Blushing Phoenix, we empower passionate, creative, and ambitious people who are held back by those social hindrances regarding social anxiety and blushing to reframe how they're viewing from this lens of debilitation to this condition, and get yourself back into a place of empowerment through transformative action. You can overcome the fear of blushing, because I did it, and I know you can too. So if that's what you're looking to do, then you have come to the right place, and I hope today's video is exactly what you needed. Okay, so let's jump into the video. First, I want to get started with a little bit of backdrop of something that happened a few weeks ago. I was at a social event with my company, and everybody was in person, and I had felt very confident and strong throughout these events, seeing people. I work a lot in the people element. I work in people operations, so that is not something that I get to shy away from. I have to be around people, and I actually really enjoy being around people. But on this particular day, I was going to open the team meeting. We were having like an conference room type style meeting. And I was opening up, I had asked to open up the meeting because I felt like that would help challenge me to get in front of people. And if you've been around here for a while, you know my philosophy is not to shy back from the things that make you afraid, but to lean into those things. And so opening up the meeting by saying, hi, everybody, we hadn't gotten to that yet. There was a situation where somebody was trying to show me something, and there was like 2 minutes before the meeting was going to start. And I started to feel just out of nowhere, this like that feeling of the heat rising. And I was like, oh my gosh, here it goes. And I felt myself just spiral, just let go and spiral. I went back into an old brain loop, which is that you're completely out of control. You don't belong here. Like this full blown imposter syndrome situation started happening. And in the middle of that thing taking over, I was able to push back against it and say no. First, I had to like spring into action and get myself moving. And I was able to stand up in front of the room and talk whether I was flushing or not. I didn't really care. So that's a little bit of the backdrop of where today's episode came from, is to show you, based off of my own experience, that if you feel that blush start to happen, you can regain control of yourself and your confidence and get yourself back into the moment and not let it completely ruin your whole day or outing or whatever you're doing. So a few things to note about this situation. I did not sleep well the night before. We had done some social outings the night before. We were out late, and for me, it takes a little bit of time to decompress and get into sleep zone. And so I had stayed up really late. I wasn't in bed until probably about 2 a.m. and I had to be up and downtown the next morning by 9 a.m. So not a lot of time for sleep, and obviously that next morning getting kids where they need to go and all that stuff. So it wasn't like I just slept in and then went downtown. I was not in the best energetic headspace because I was physically tired. So note that. The second thing to note is that I wasn't late, but I showed up a little later than I had expected to. And so a lot of people had traveled in for this event, even though it was in my town. So people were there early, like super early. So even though I wasn't late, I felt late because people were already there and I wasn't one of the first people to walk into the conference room. And the third thing to note is that there was an environmental challenge. And what I mean by that is that normally when we've been in a space together, we're in a very large open conference room gathering space, and you have lots of room to spread out. In this particular conference room, it was a lot smaller and a lot more tightly packed than I was used to. And I'm very picky about like where I get to sit. I like to sit, like it's got to have a feel for me. And people had already claimed their seats. And so I kind of had to pick what was left over. So environmentally, I wasn't in the best space for me and the way I am in my energetic body. So just to note those few things as we were going into the situation. The other thing, I guess there's another thing to add here, is that I've talked about this before, that when I start to feel like I'm betraying myself is especially if we get up against like a timeline and I am caught between a timeline where I know I need to go or I need to start something or I need to end what's happening in front of me, and it has to do with a person who's talking to me, and it spins me into this old headspace of I don't want to hurt their feelings. So this person, super kind, was helping me out with something. It was just not the right time. And so as she was explaining something to me, I could feel that betrayal feeling in my body of I need her to stop talking and I need to tell her or I am going to be late to start this time together. So it was as she was talking that I think with all of the other things that I listed, it just felt like the wall started to close in on me because I felt like I was running out of time and I felt out of control because I wasn't using my voice to tell her, hey, let's talk about this later. I got to get prepared for this thing, which was what was more important at the moment for me. That's the backdrop of my story. And I'm going to tell you how I got out of that, because as I felt it moving up my body and I felt the doom feeling of, oh no, oh no, oh no, in a matter of seconds, I told myself from the observing self, that observing self is that part of you that can see and knows and can speak back to you, that this doesn't change who you are. This moment doesn't get to change who you are or your worth, because your worth comes from in here, right? So it doesn't come from out there. So there's nothing out there that anybody could think or say or feel that's going to change your worth, because you are the one who gets to give that out. You're the one who claims that and gets to say if you're worthy or not. And I say I'm worthy. And immediately it gave me this energy to just spring into action, which was like, hey, thank you for helping me with this. We'll talk about this a little bit more later. And then I went straight to the front of the room and I just called all eyes onto me, like, hey, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Are we having a good time? And I took control of the situation. So here are those tips that I want to share with you that helped get me from this oh no doom feeling to this state of I got this under control and I can control this situation. So here we go. Tip number 1 is to observe the situation. When we are in the situation, we become the situation. And I want to tell you that you have the power to observe it very judgmentally free, non-judgmental. I don't know. Free of judgment, but you have the power to do that. That is all up to you. Those are your choices. So you can observe that situation as you are in the moment from that observing higher self and say, what's actually going on here? I'm tired. This environment is a lot different than something that I'm used to. I feel like I'm running out of time. I'm not using my voice, so I can understand why these things are happening. I've also been in a very social setting for like heavy social settings for the past 2 days with a lot of people, and I'm just tired. So my body is not reacting the same as it normally would if I was well rested. So those are my observations. So I invite you to make those observations to see kind of like what's going on in the environment around me that could lead to some of these feelings. Number 2 is to ask yourself, what am I believing in this moment that's leading to this lack of control feeling and essentially reinforcing this reaction? So to be able to observe and then ask yourself, like, what am I believing right now? So in my situation, it was that, oh my gosh, I'm about to to kick off this meeting and I'm supposed to be this confident people leader that's welcoming everybody in, and I'm going to be this like red blushed, flushed person. Like, how would they ever respect or care what I have to say? So in that moment, I can tell I'm believing that they are going to think something about me because I'm turning red, but they don't get to determine that. I get to determine that. So even if they did think that, it doesn't matter if I don't believe that. So if I already know I've got this self-worth and I care about these people, and who cares if I turn red? That literally nobody cares. That it's not worth giving a lot of time and energy and creating a false story of what they're thinking when it's really about what am I thinking about it. And so being able to pull yourself back into like, what am I believing in this moment, can really empower you to know what are the beliefs that are happening, because you, again, have the choice to change those beliefs. Number 3 is to reframe your thoughts around those beliefs. So again, it's not a big deal that you're having those thoughts. It's that you get to take those thoughts and reframe them around what you want to believe, what you do believe, that maybe you're feeling a little out of control in that moment, but you know what it feels like to be in control. So just turning that switch on to the other side, which is that I am worthy because I'm the one that gets to decide that. I determine my self-worth, not anybody else. And you know what? Blushing is a real human reaction, and I'm a living, breathing, hopefully human, and I'm just having a human reaction, and it'll settle once my body knows I'm fine, and we're just going to carry on. The best way to teach my body that it's safe is to actually keep going through this motion so that my mind will know, oh, we can let go of this thing, of this like ability to try to protect and preserve this person because she's okay. Tip number 4 that I want to share with you is to let yourself know that you're excited about this and not anxious. Our body tries to default into this anxious survival mode. And if you just flip on this mindset of, I'm actually really excited. I'm about to get up and talk in front of these people very briefly, and I'm really excited to be here with them, and I want them to feel warm and welcome when I'm talking. And your brain doesn't know the difference between if you're anxious or you're excited. You get to tell it the narrative. So when you start telling it the narrative that I'm excited about the opportunity, it's going to get confused. It can't operate in both worlds. So you'll feel the sensations, you'll feel the feelings, but you are driving the narrative of that story, which is that you're excited. And tip number 5 is take action. Spring into action. If you sit in those feelings, you sit in that discomfort, and you sit there and you just start like extracting all the feelings and how it makes you feel and me, then you're going to spiral deeper into this, I need to run away and hide myself from everybody around me. Don't do that. Jump into action. So for me, it was get up in front of this group, which I know is asking a lot for a lot of people. That just happened to be my circumstance. It's whatever's comfortable for you in that moment. Maybe you normally run to a bathroom. Don't run to the bathroom. And so just stay sitting there, whatever that means for you. For me, it was to draw attention to myself so that I could learn to deal with those feelings. And plus I'm trying to teach my brain something different, that we're not doing what we've been doing, or we're just going to keep getting the same results. Hey guys, I have to hurry because I'm running to a call, but those are my 5 tips for you. I hope that they're helpful. If this was helpful, be sure to like and subscribe and come follow along. I realize that there's a lot happening on this channel, and there's a lot of you watching that are not subscribing. So I'm putting a lot of work into this, and I would really appreciate your thumbs up and your comments and you following along on the journey. Hey, you are so much more than redness, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, you better rise and thrive, my friend.
Rise up, rise up, rise up. When you've had enough, when the crowd gets rough, gotta stand up straight, gonna rise like a champion.